Hi, my name is Nairi, this is Fly Little Birds, and I'd like to talk to you today about children that have childhood trauma, child trauma. What are the basics that you could expect if you were looking after a child that has experienced this? So if you're an adopter, a foster carer, professional, then this video will be helpful to you. I've got 2 adopted boys and I've also been a foster carer. So the first point to say is childhood trauma is very unpredictable. So you may have a really good day with your child and everything is fabulous, and one day you're saying, oh wow, this is doing great, we're doing really, really well, and the next day or even within the same day everything can fall apart. And that is because children that have experienced child trauma have difficulties with their mental health, and they don't know, or sometimes they don't know how they feel about things. They don't know where that trigger is coming from and what is hitting them, and that can make their behaviour go very different, and they can be happy one minute and sad the next. So unpredictability, and therefore you would have to be ready for that. My second point is often development is affected. Now I don't necessarily mean academically, although it is common for children's development to be affected academically. I think the big thing is here, those who've experienced childhood trauma, because they experience triggers and difficulties in their mind and in their bodies, often their development is either being affected now, as in they can't really assimilate information, they can't concentrate. Now I'll give you an example with one of my sons. I said to him the other day, is it that you don't hear me, or you don't focus on what I'm saying, or you just don't want to do it? He was sort of saying, I can't focus, I can't hear you. And often with children it does seem like they're not really hearing you and they're sort of blanking out. And I think that's because they zone into their own world, or the triggers get in the way of them concentrating on what they need to concentrate on. And then of course there's the developmental things that might have happened before, when they were maltreated, neglected, abused, when during that period of time their brain would have shut down to allow them to just be able to get through and survive. And so yeah, development is likely to be affected. It could be language, it could be their emotional development, it might be academic as well. So that's my second point. My third point is you often get this push-pull effect with children who've experienced childhood trauma, and this is around attachment and trust. And this push-pull effect, as I would call it, happens with you as an adult, but can also happen with their friendships. So one minute they really want someone and they want to do something with that person, and the next minute they're the worst thing that ever happened to them. And it's a bit like with you as well as a parent. One minute you are the best person and you can do no wrong and you're amazing, and the next minute they don't want you at all. And I call that the push-pull. So they're pulling you in, sometimes to get what they want, sometimes to manipulate, sometimes to control, because that was the way that they survive. They'll pull you in for something and then they push you away again. I notice this sometimes if I go out somewhere and my sons are not too keen on the idea that I've gone somewhere, and they don't want me to go, they really don't want me to go, so they're pulling me in. Okay, when I come back, especially one of them will not even acknowledge I've walked through the door, and I'd say that's the pushing away effect. And you can see it I see it quite a lot throughout the day with my boys. My next point for you, number 4, is, it seems a really obvious one, but high level of anxiety. This can manifest itself in many different ways. So a high level of anxiety could mean a complete shutdown. We've got 2 very different sons, the way they approach things. So one of them would shut down and go really, really quiet and not even try to explain what the matter is, and you will see that more paralyzed look, almost like a disconnect from what's going on in reality. And that can become quite serious if that continues, because that can mean that they dissociate with what's going on in the world around them, and they remove themselves, their being, from reality. So it's something to keep an eye on. But anxiety can also mean a child is very restless, cannot sit still or concentrate, which brings us back to not being able to access stuff for their development and their education. And it might well mean that level of anxiety is bringing huge amounts of adrenaline, which then means that there is going to be a meltdown or there's going to be anger. So high levels of anxiety are so normal with children that have gone through childhood trauma. Because you can expect to have lots of manipulation and control from children with childhood trauma, then my next point for you to expect is that you would need to have clear boundaries. This is something that you're going to need to do, not so much what you see in the child, because the expectation will be that those boundaries will be pushed and that your child will feel very unsafe with loosely thrown together boundaries and routines. And the only way to sort of get through with them and make them feel safe and secure is for you to put those things in place and consequences when things don't go very well. And for many of us, it seems like a very strange way of parenting for children that have gone through so much that we might have to be really firm with boundaries and really tight with routines and allow a lot of regularity and in some ways many mundane things to continue. But you can definitely expect that a child with childhood trauma would prefer to have tight routines and boundaries, and would prefer in a way to have consequences because they know where they are with you. So it's raining, pouring rain outside. I hope you enjoyed that. Please check out my playlist. There are quite a few on childhood trauma, and I look forward to seeing you on Fly Little Birds. Thank you.